Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Why is the middle class shrinking? Why are people facing an affordability crisis while marginalized individuals called informals grow in numbers? Join me as I travel the world, speaking with people living in invisibility, the leaders working to solve it, and uncovering the hard truths shaping our economy and daily reality.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.
Excuse me! Taxi!
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
And you guys, the senator was just talking about threats to the Homeland and DHS funding, and who better than Chris Swecker, who is joining us now. He was a special agent in charge of the FBI office for a long time in Charlotte, but he also was head of investigations for the FBI, all of the criminal investigations with the FBI for 25 years. And Chris, it's great to have you. What do you think is the biggest threat to America right now? What should we be looking out for? Is it the lone wolves? Obviously, we had a wide open border for a long time.
Yeah, I think the biggest threat are cells that have been in the country for quite a while, Hezbollah or Hamas, but mostly Hezbollah. You know, they are probably the most prolific terrorist organization in the world. They've killed more Americans than any other terrorist organization other than Al-Qaeda. So they've killed thousands. They have been here for a while. And of course, during the 4 years of open borders on the last administration, we had 2 million gotaways. By definition, we don't know who they are or where they are. So it's certain that other cell members have infiltrated into the country during that time period. You know, we took out a Hezbollah cell here in Charlotte in the early 2000s. We arrested 19 people. It's the only prosecution, full-on prosecution of a Hezbollah cell in our history, really. We've done one-offs, but not an entire cell. And that tells you that they're out there. And they have a sort of a formalized presence of card-carrying members who are mostly fundraising, but we have sympathizers everywhere.
I have a question, Chris, and I've known you a long time. I mean, how many radicals do you believe? Is there any sort of estimate, in this country that we have to look for that are sympathetic to Hezbollah or the Houthis or Hamas, obviously all proxies of Iran?
Well, before October 7th and the aftermath from that massacre, the aftermath of all the protests in the United States showing sympathy for Hamas and other terrorist organizations, I would have said, it numbered, probably less than 1,000 sympathizers and cell members. But, now it's hard to tell. I mean, they outed themselves during those demonstrations and even riots. And what we saw were them chanting death to America on our campuses, wearing terrorist, the garb of Hamas and chanting slogans that were given to them by Hamas operatives. So, I think there are a lot more sympathizers here than there are cell members, but then we have unbalanced people who have mental issues, who are, sort of religious zealots, if you will, or just zealots in general. And they go off. I mean, like we had in Austin, that's very common, and terrorist organizations play to that audience. And so they don't need to be card-carrying members. They can be just sympathizers who are unbalanced and sort of prone to violence.
How concerned should we be? Obviously, New York, sadly, is always a target. Rudy Washington, who's with us, former deputy mayor, was there during 9/11 with Rudy Giuliani. You think about, I always feel like New York is always such a tempting place. And there's also, you got the World Cup coming up. I mean, there's a lot of things. What are you looking for?
Yeah, I'm worried about large gatherings of people. I'm not saying don't go out your front door. I'm not saying live in fear. But if you go to a large event, even something like a concert or a parade or, even a sporting event, you just have to be aware of your surroundings, be aware of anything that might be suspicious. And, the security people have to do their job and be on top of their game at the same time, but they can't be everywhere. Law enforcement and private security can't be everywhere. They need an assist. So especially if someone starts to act in that bizarre way and sort of sending up red flags, buying a weapon, talking kind of crazy about, jihad, and all of a sudden they make a conversion and they're spouting sort of that religious zealotry language, sort of that extremist language. That's when you have to call the FBI tip line or talk to your nearest law enforcement officer. They need that see something, say something help.
Mr. Swecker, have you heard anything? It's been very quiet with Tucson.
With the Nancy Guthrie case.
It has been quiet, but I watched an interview of the sheriff, and I agree with him. All the evidence collection has taken place, and what's happening now are the analysts are just crunching through all that data, the video and the Walmart transactions, and making DNA comparisons, cross comparisons, and all the other evidence, tips and leads, 40,000 tips and leads. They're still going through all of that. And in the video, especially like from commercial establishments or Ring video, they need to do it real time. They can't speed review it. So all of that is still happening behind the scenes. You're not seeing the data collection, the evidence collection that you saw earlier. That was the visible presence that the media was picking up on. The MVPs are the analysts in the background. This case will get solved, but it is going cold, and it's the data is there. The match will be made at some point, but we're going to have to be patient because this is now kind of a semi-cold case.
Wow. Well, keep us posted. Chris Swecker, thank you so much, Chris. It's always great to talk with you with so many years of great experience there, overseeing all the criminal investigations at the FBI. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you for keeping all Americans, informed. Thank you so much.
We appreciate that. Take care.
If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com.